Hi, you've reached Call Your Publicist, your go-to source for PR moves, media moments, and brand strategies that keep businesses and people in the headlines for the right reasons. I'm one of your hosts, Jenna Guarneri, CEO and founder of JMG Public Relations.
And I'm your co-host, Alexandra Anastasio. Let's start talking.
All right, so personal branding.
Here we are.
I
know, this has been a hot topic.
We've had a handful of guests on, right, that we've been talking about with this. The conversations we've been having I've been finding so interesting because obviously everybody's story is different, but yet similar, if that makes any sense. And what I find interesting is the people we're talking to, business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, but you can have a business and still not be a personal brand.
For sure.
So it's funny because when I first got into the industry, I can understand why some people don't really understand that you can be a business owner, but you're not a brand, especially not a personal brand.
Right.
As somebody like yourself who is a business owner and a personal brand, what do you want to tell people, or what, like if somebody asks you like, well, what's the difference? Like, how do you distinguish that for them?
So I think it's important to note not every business needs a brand, nor does it make sense. You can be, I'm trying to think like, what's a good analogy of a company that doesn't need a personal brand, right? They're behind the scenes. It's just probably, maybe they're making a certain product that just automatically sells. You don't need to know the brand behind it, right? It's just something you constantly need. Or
you don't need the face.
You don't need the face. You don't need to have for them to have, sparkling, amazing branding that you'll put on a mug or you'll put on a sweatshirt, right? You're not going to wear them. Branding is something that you're creating a recognizable company name, right? You put it on a shirt, you put it on a logo, people are going to be drawn to it and then want it themselves, right? It becomes more of a lifestyle, if you would, right? Whereas having a company, you can have a successful company and never have a brand, and that's totally okay. But you can also then leverage the business to build out your brand more, so you create more of a following, more of that connection to your customers. It feels like more of a lifestyle, more of a culture, if you would. So they're buying more into who you are as a business versus just hiring you, not getting to know you. They just hire you for whatever that is, and then that's it. There's no engagement.
That's interesting because as you are saying that, right, you're talking about connecting with people, the brand road. Haley Bieber, right?
Yeah.
She is the face of her brand.
Yeah.
When you think of her products, you immediately think of her, and she, correct me if I'm wrong, all of what's out there that you see of her brand is her in it. So you can't not think of one without the other.
100%. It's also smart of them to do, and all celebrities have personal brands because you're buying into who they are and you want to follow them and you want your fans to purchase whatever it is you're selling.
Right.
So if you see even Kylie Jenner with her alcohol brand, she'll go into bars and do events with it. And there's a personal branding tie to her alcohol.
And I think too, though, for businesses obviously we're talking about celebrities. So everybody wants to have what a celebrity has or connect in that way. But even I think too, when you're a business owner, so for instance, I'm going to take JMG and I'm going to take you as an example. You have your business, but you also are the face of your brand because you're out there, you're talking about it, right? So you're connecting. It's all about authenticity. We always talk about that, but you're connecting with people so that if they are thinking about maybe for themselves as a business owner, saying, okay, you know what? Now I'm seeing what she created, how her path, and now she's putting herself out there. And I think that's sometimes difficult for people to do, but I think it's also really necessary if it falls into that. Okay, I'm a business, but I'm selling something, and you want that authentic connection, right? You want people to trust you because why would I purchase your product or use your service if I don't connect with you or I don't understand what you're doing? And now I trust you. So if I trust you as a person, chances are I'm going to trust you with my baby, which is my business.
Right. It helps increase brand awareness, right? So even if you were someone that wanted to potentially hire us, but you were thinking about it, you're paying attention to us, we're putting more out there. There's more output about our brand. We're talking about who we are. We're talking about our culture. We're talking about the new merch line we dropped, the new capsule collection for our employees, right? There's more conversation, and then you get to know us. So it just creates more of a connection to our future customers or even current customers at that. But it helps increase our brand awareness so that way people feel more connected to us. And then you never know where that leads to as a brand, right? For us, having all these capsule collections with our employees then had us launch the Off the Clock merch, which makes sense, right? Now it's connecting outsiders to the merchandise that we're creating, right? And it's always very popular with their employees, so it should be the same with the outsiders, right? So it's allowing more, you're creating more for future opportunities too.
Absolutely. What do you think? I'm just curious because I know, but I'd love for other people to think. How do you feel? Because obviously you do this, but how do you feel it impacts your business, right? So you have your business and then you say, okay, you know what? As the founder, I have to put myself out there. I want to kind of establish myself, but do people really understand what it does for their business? Like, meaning, what is it? What do you think it does? Or what has it done for you? So people understand that it's important, right? Because a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there and show up authentically.
Right. It's scary.
You're being vulnerable.
So vulnerable. And a lot of people are not comfortable or they think they're bragging, right? There's this level of, almost ego where people feel like, oh, I can't share that. That's just, oh, what are my friends going to say? Well, your friends aren't your target audience for the business. So if they are following you, they'll see it, but it's not who you're selling to or who you want to sell to or who you want to know about the business, right? It's a completely different audience, but that is a popular thing I hear. But in terms of what it does for the brand, I mean, you can see even for us what it's done, right? So no other PR firm out there has created the level of brand awareness that we have and the exposure that we have because we treat ourselves as a client. And that's a strategic thing we've done from the beginning. So putting extra effort into our social media from the very beginning, creating all these memes. Now everybody else is copying us and creating the merch, creating all of these opportunities where other PR professionals and content creators want to work for us because they're seeing all the hype about us, right? They're seeing all this noise we're making. And that leads to other opportunities too, right? So that also led to me creating the book.
Yep.
Which led to Good Morning America asking us to come on board, right? So one thing leads to another because brand awareness, I mean, everyone always tries to quantify it, but can you really put all those things that I as mentioned, onto paper, nor had planned for it because those things all happened organically, one after another. Did I think I would be on Good Morning America? No. Did I plan for writing a book so I could be on Good Morning America? No. I just did it because I knew it would be a great opportunity for something.
Right. And that book too, when you wrote your book, did you ever think that it would be used like as a tool in like
Never.
At a university?
No clue.
Like how, you know
Who
what I mean?
thinks of that, you know?
Exactly. So I think too, when you are planning, because obviously as a business owner, a founder, you have a plan, right? You're not just jumping in and saying, all right, we're here. We'll see what happens. So you do have a plan and it could be something you put on that vision board, like, oh, I'd love to maybe do this, but obviously there's steps to get there. I think when you start out, like it, just like you just said, organically, you know your audience, right? So that's really how you have to kind of look at it. Even through our socials, we're seeing who's following us, who's engaging with us. That's why we even created our newsletter geared towards college students and young professionals, because we were seeing what was coming at us in terms of questions or people, what they were following. So it's just sort of saying, okay, you know what, it's almost like social listening. You're listening to your audience, and those are your biggest, whether it's followers, purchasers, whatever your product is.
Is this a term already, social listening, or did you just make this up? Because I really like it.
I feel like it is a term.
Is it? Okay.
But I know I've seen it somewhere, so I'm not going to coin that phrase and say it was mine.
All right. Well, I liked it.
But it's true. Like, right? Like, I think in a world of social media, there's so much noise and we're all trying to put stuff out there. But sometimes you have to step back. It's sort of like when you're having a conversation and there's that one person who doesn't shut up, which is usually me.
Stop.
I'm always talking. But there's power in just listening to somebody. Yeah. So if I'm not just listening to you verbally, I'm listening to you as I'm scrolling or I'm looking. So I think that's what social listening means. I don't know. That's what it means to me.
It's like active listening, but you're actively paying attention to social.
Right.
Right. I think that makes sense because there is so much noise out there, to your point, and it's hard for brands to find a way through and break through the clutter, but putting the person behind it and building out a personal brand helps to push through the clutter. And you don't always have to be a celebrity to do this, right? There's Sarah Blakely of Spanx. She created a beautiful personal brand for herself. I mean, such a fantastic one. I mean, we all know how successful she is, and she has an incredible story, right? And it resonates with people, and it connects people to her because there's so many different articles about her, how she got her start, but one of them being how she invested $5,000 to start her business. That's relatable. Right. And now, I mean, I don't even know what the company's worth at this point, but
the best $5,000 she's probably like, I ever spent. But she took a chance on herself.
Right. And it's also, it's relatable in the sense that anybody can start like that. Right. Any opportunity. But if she didn't share that story, if she wasn't the face of the brand, we would never know that. And some people may gravitate to the brand because of her.
Right.
And that perhaps is what helped leverage the brand to be as big as it is now.
And I think that's important for people to understand. If you are afraid to put yourself out there, right? And you say, oh, what are people going to think about me? What are people going to say? People are always going to say something about anything. So again, block out that noise. You're taking a chance on yourself. So why not, right? You launched your business or you founded a company or you're a CEO of leading a company. Already you are the face. So why not just put it out there and really try and help others? Because I think when you do that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're the face of your brand or your business and you're creating a personal brand for yourself, it's almost like you're mentoring people that you don't even know, right? Because like you just said, people could watch what Sarah did with Spanx and say, okay, well, I could do this too. Or listen, it's a hard road to get there, but at least it gives people motivation or it makes them feel empowered.
Oh, 100%. And there is this sense for entrepreneurs to give back because we all started from somewhere. We all started, trying to figure out how to do this all. And so it's our duty as entrepreneurs to do that for other people. And sometimes you can't work one-on-one all the time with people, but if you put your message out there,
right,
somebody's listening at some point.
Socially listening.
They're
socially listening. No, but true. Like you're a mentor to people that you don't even know. Because people are watching you from all over. So that has to feel great. I'm sure when you get, whether it's in DMs or if somebody emails you or leaves a comment on a post that you put out, that even if it's a thank you or 100%. A thank you, or I can connect with what you just said because I feel like I've been in that situation. Like that has to make you feel good, but also make you realize, thank God I put myself out there. Thank God I took this chance on myself because look what the impact. So it's almost like that fear, you broke past it, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. And I think it's important to invest in yourself as a business and a personal brand because of course, you have built out the business itself, but then you become separate from the business, right? Because you're an expert in how you built the business.
Right.
You're an expert in your field. You can teach other people how to do that. There's a lot that can be done with personal branding. It requires investment of time and energy and resources, of course, but the long-term result is it will have a positive effect on the brand at the end of the day as well.
So for somebody who say I have my business, it's mine, I founded the company or the product, whatever it is that I have. And I say to myself, okay, I've already, I've launched this business. I've done what I can so far, right? Because there's always more you can do.
Oh, of course.
So I've done what I can so far, but now I want to step out of my comfort zone, right? I know it's time, regardless of how much time, because I feel like there is no window, right? It's when you feel like it's ready for that next step. So you're ready for that next step. You say to yourself, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to put myself out there. So if we had to do a little media training one-on-one kind of, because sometimes people don't even know where to get started, right? They sit down and say, okay, I know I want to be the face of my brand or I want to connect with my audience. I'm going to step out behind that curtain. But what do I do?
People get really overwhelmed in that position because they just don't know where to pull the information from, organize it, how to do it. But I always tell people the very first thing is the messaging, right? You want to understand who you are as a brand, who your company is a brand, how do they tie into each other? And then you want to actually literally write out the key messaging on both of those.
Okay.
And it has to be concise, right? It has to be also sound bites. Sound bites is a key thing in media, especially during interviews, right? I've so many times when I've done presentations where I've presented who I am and who the business is, everyone's like, wow, that's really good. And I was like, well, I talk in sound bites. I'm a PR person, right? You're concise, you're to the point, you're not rambling, you're giving room for opportunity for other people to jump in and ask questions, right? There's an art to messaging. It's not as simple and clear cut as writing out a bunch of paragraphs, right? It has to be very concise. So having that messaging will set you up for success for doing interviews. And for even, say, talking about the brand in front of people, right? When you go into networking rooms, some people don't know how to present the brand to outsiders.
So is that like your elevator pitch?
It's the elevator pitch, yeah. And then the elevator pitch is the 30 seconds, which is, when you're doing media interviews, you can kind of scale and figure out, okay, which of the messaging, how much of that do I have time for? 30 seconds might be too long for a quick question on TV, but you can cut that down to maybe two sentences, right? You can start to get strategic in how you use the messaging, knowing, okay, this is how long this takes, this is how many sentences this is, I have to cut it down. Because realistically, during interviews that are, say, on TV, you only have 3 to 5 minutes total, and that includes someone asking you the questions. So you really don't have, you have a minute and a half.
That's not a lot of time.
That's not a lot of time.
Especially if you're very lengthy in your responses, sort of like I probably would be. So, yeah, no, so there's an art to all of this.
Yeah.
It's not just okay, I'm just going to start talking and I'm going to come up with an elevator pitch and we're just going to go from there.
No, think almost like in length of what would be called tweets. I don't know what you call them with X now, but the length of a tweet, right?
You only get a certain amount of characters.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. And then you want each one to hold weight. Every time you say something, it's got to be a golden nugget. Every statement, because you want there to be constant takeaways. And for certain media opportunities or even just network in general, you may say, I want to share this with this person because I know they would be interested in this. You don't need to tell them all the things. If they ask questions and they have an hour, great. You can tell them all the things. But sometimes you only want to give them leave the takeaway of a nugget. And that nugget is really the tangible thing that they can then relate back to your business.
Okay.
They can become a potential customer. You want to grab people with that nugget of information.
So do you think when you give out that information, the nugget, not giving everything, that could then lead to other opportunities, other, whether it's TV interviews, podcasts, articles, or interviews, because now you've almost dropped that, like, it's almost like you're dangling the carrot, like you're giving them a little information, but you're not giving all of it.
Right.
So now somebody's like, well, now I want to know more.
Right.
So they're invested now in what you said.
You create a personal connection with people that way. That's kind of similar to, so with our interns or any new employee, really, we tell them to come up with 3 really unique attributes about themselves that we share on social media. And the reason we have them do this is because those are the things that will get people interested in who you are and remember you because they're so unique, right? So people always think, oh, those are the weird things about me, the things you don't want to share.
Right.
Those are the things you actually want to share because those are the sound bites, those nuggets that will get people to remember that person when you meet them. Like, oh, that's the person who knits with their grandma. I don't know. Right. Whatever it is. Or cooks in their kitchen and loves the certain type of meal.
Because I feel like there's somebody out there who's going to connect with you.
Correct.
It doesn't matter if you think it's not interesting, somebody's going to think it's interesting.
Oh, 100%.
Because there's something for everybody.
You can't hit everyone with that one talking point.
Right.
So, but if you can not latch on, but you get one person of interest, then that's a success.
So what about those people when they say, okay, I know I have to become the face of my brand, or I want to become, but they don't like being on camera and they don't like putting themselves out on, a video or social. So how would you tell somebody, you know what, this is how you have to get comfortable?
Yeah.
Or not how you have to get comfortable. But what would you say to somebody who comes to you and says, or a client and says, all right, I have to go on this video podcast.
Yeah.
And I don't want to show my face.
Honestly, some people are hesitant at the conversation at the beginning, but there's stepping stones to that, right? You don't want just to throw those people knee deep and put them on Good Morning America and, good luck. They'll freak out.
We'll see you after your 3 to 5 minutes of segment is up.
You'll do fine. The lights, just ignore them. But realistically, you can get them warmed up to things, right? So maybe it starts with like a LinkedIn strategy. Just putting it out there, getting them comfortable, because when it's a written word, it's a little less nerve-wracking than a visual interview.
Okay.
So sometimes there's good stepping stones. Byline articles might be a great opportunity. Things that are a little bit more behind the scenes, and then getting to the camera.
Right.
So getting their feet wet, maybe throw in a podcast. Hey, we're here.
Start with your voice, not your face.
Exactly.
And then you're like, okay, I'm comfortable speaking. So then it's just natural, because you may say, oh, well, okay, I'm comfortable enough talking. I'm not even going to pay attention to the camera. And at the end of the day, this is who you are. So just show up as your authentic self and just go with it and hope for the best.
Oh, 100%. And the more you show up, the more comfortable you'll be at it. When you're jumping in occasionally, once a month, once a week, it's not enough time for you to get comfortable. You have to do a regular cadence. When it's regular and it's routine and it's schedule, just like going to the gym. If you're uncomfortable going to the gym, but you get a habit, you'll be more comfortable with it.
And I think, too, even if you're not comfortable because I think most people aren't, right? Not everybody feels comfortable sitting in front of a camera and just talking. But I think when you are working with your PR team, I know we do, I'm sure you get trained, right? There's media training, there's helping you understand how to answer things, how to address things, just like what you said with those sound bites, giving those nuggets, making sure everything that you share can be used in different ways with the media.
100%. So when you have a team of experts working with you, it also feels a lot less scary, of course, because you're in good hands. Whatever you put out there that you normally would be nervous about, they're looking at it with a fine-tooth comb, and you're like, okay, if they say it's okay, then I should be okay with it. Sometimes you just need a little hand-holding.
Makes sense.
It does.
But it's all good. And it's all for the benefit of your business, your company, yourself. And I think too, and this is the conversations that we've recently been having, and this is why I thought this was so interesting to talk about, was when we get really comfortable doing something, we sometimes can, and we don't always realize it. I don't want to say you get into a rut, but you're comfortable, so you don't want to step outside the box, but then you're not challenging yourself. So you don't really know what else can be accomplished. So, you know what I mean? Like if you would have just said, okay, I launched my company and we have this business that's great. But if you never took that step to write that book, you would have never known what that book would have done.
Oh, of course. Would we be having the same opportunities as we did before? I don't know if that would be the case, because I think you have to put yourself out there in order for people to stand out from competitors. That's really key. That helps you stand out by creating more of a brand, more of recognition for yourself. And I think that's just an important part of the process in order to try to climb to be number one in your space. That's the goal for every business, is to be the number one spot for their category.
Right.
So you're carving out a niche for yourself too by talking more about who you are as a brand, your key differentiators, showing people what those are, creating the brand assets for it, right? Making yourself more of that brand helps people understand that.
And I think too, why that's so important is whatever business you're in, whether it's a service business or a product, right? Like say, I don't know, I have a product in, I don't want to cop, like, I don't know, say it's a makeup brand, right? There's hundreds of them, right? But how do you stand out, right? So that's why I think it's so important to be able to connect with your audience, because they get to know you. They feel like, okay, this person understands me. This person gets me. Especially too, I think, even if you don't have a specific business. So for instance, like I follow somebody on social, but I connect with her because I feel like she's talking to me. She is a makeup artist. So maybe she doesn't have a physical product that she's selling me, but she's selling me on, I guess, her, if that makes sense. Like she's selling me on her because now I feel like she's my go-to whenever I need to know something. I don't know. Is that the same? Would you say like that's similar?
I think so, 100%. I think it's just a different form. Like social media, I think some influencers can be their own brand. And they're putting, you're following them because you're invested in them. And then sometimes they'll offer products and, the links, and you're buying into whatever they say, right? That's a brand. That's a personal brand. Right. For sure. I think there's a lot of, social media provides a huge avenue to really dive into that in a much more personalized way than we had ever before.
Right.
I think that's why there's so much dialogue about this now, because social media has created those opportunities for everyday business owners that perhaps it wasn't there before. And now you have to think about your business in a different way because it's so competitive out there. And like you said, it's so noisy out there. So how do you find your way through? Well, it's kind of now it's a standard practice to be on all these platforms. Right. And not everyone is doing it, ironically. So if you do all of that, then you do the content properly, you're already putting yourself ahead of the curve compared to everyone else.
True. You're looking to see where your audience is hanging out, or where your people, where your followers, who connects with you, where are they? And then you say, okay, they're on these 3 platforms. So I have to be on these 3 platforms and I have to show up religiously, authentically. And then people will continue to look for you.
Oh, yeah.
So no, I think that's great. And also too, you never know, like we were just saying about being a mentor, who you're influencing, especially for us with having our internship cohort each semester. Part of what they get is the book. So they're already diving into PR, and they're seeing how we go about helping others get to these points, right? How do we help you, whether you have your own business or you're a CEO of a company, and how do we help you become the face of that brand? How do we help establish your thought leadership? So I feel like we're also at home teaching the next generation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, thought leadership as a whole, and I think that's a good thing, too, to say that thought leadership is tied to the personal branding. And what's the differentiation there, right? Because thought leadership has become such a popular thing right now, and I love that we're teaching it to our interns and our cohort of interns, because it's probably going to keep evolving, and especially in the age now of ChatGPT and AI, that things feel robotic and not personalized. thought leadership is so much more important because people are craving those human interactions. AI has its purpose and it can help in ways, but you're still never going to get the human interaction where you can get that when you see the person, the face of the brand, the thought leadership, all of that creates that connection.
And I think when you establish that thought leadership, you're already out there now creating your personal brand in a sense, right? Because when you thought leaders you're contributing to the conversation. We're not reinventing the wheel. What we're doing is whatever business it is, or whatever industry I should say, they're contributing their thoughts, right? Hence you're a thought leader, but you're contributing in a way that whoever's listening or reading or watching is going to stop and think and say, wow, okay, yeah, you know what? Maybe I never really looked at it that way, or that's interesting. Sort of like you just mentioned about the Soundbites. I'm saying, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, that's something I should be doing. That's explains why I should be doing it this way. So that's really, I think you're already establishing that as a thought leader. You're putting out that information, you're sharing it, and you're, again, dipping your toe out there. You're starting it slow, but now think about taking that thought leadership to the next level.
Yeah.
And making yourself or, establishing yourself as a personal brand.
100%. And you know what? To your point too, it's thought leaders and subject matter experts SMEs do not have to be business owners. They can be C-suite executives, anyone who's interested in just carving their niche out. You don't have to be a business owner for that. And I think that's also another leg of all of this is that you can build out a personal brand as, say, the CMO of a company.
Right.
Right? You are an expert. You've worked with how many different brands. So share your story with it, right? How did you get to where you are? I want to know. I'm curious. They always have a good story.
Well, I was going to say, obviously, to reach those levels, right? Yeah. We work with CEOs. Like, obviously, there's a chain, there's a path that you take to get there. So how did you get there?
Exactly.
Obviously, you didn't just one day wake up or graduate college and say, hey, I'm the CEO. Like, there's a journey, there's a path. And I think a lot of people who maybe owning your own business or, creating something is not for you, you want to kind of take a different route. You can still do that. So.
100%. And the beauty of social media is that it gives you that opportunity and that network to be able to play with it a little bit and have fun and figure out what that is for you.
And it's all about connection.
All about connection. This was fun.
This was fun.
Yeah.
I like talking about these things.
I do too. And for those of us who want to learn more, they can subscribe to our channel, leave a comment, or share the episode with your friends.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.